Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Honourable members, Good morning and welcome to your meeting. I also want to just welcome and greet the Honorable Minister, the DG, the senior members of the entities, the stakeholders.
Recording in progress.
The stakeholders who are part of this meeting, and of course our ever efficient and present support who make these meetings happen. I just want to greet you. But before we start with our meeting in earnest, I would like for us all to just take one moment of silence for prayer and meditation, please. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I just want to now hand over to Lindiwe to go through the formalities before we start our meeting, but I cannot do that before I just express my deep excitement yesterday for being part of the G20 Social Summit, where I also met the Honorable Minister and other ministers and DG and senior officials of the department. But for me, the highlight of yesterday was when I was invited to the NDA's exhibition stand. And as I say, it was a highlight for me. The work that is being done by civil society organizations and how very, very good that work is. I was just beyond excited. But I can take this whole meeting about that. So Lindiwe, please take over. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to you, Chair, to the members of the Portfolio Committee, to the Minister in our attendance, to the department officials or any stakeholders, Chair, that are in attendance. Chair, my responsibility is just to confirm the agenda of today's meeting, which is the 19th of November. You have already welcomed, Chair, and provided highlights of the G20 you attended. Chair, I'll just introduce the MPs that are in attendance and also the officials, Chair. We have Member Masango as our chairperson who attended this meeting. We have Member Mchweni, we have Member Ramayila, we have Member Munyai, Member Peters, Member Mokato, Reverend Kwabaza, Chair. Those are the members that have managed to take their names. Chair, we have departmental officials in attendance, Chair, led by the DG. Also, Chair, as per your request of the committee, that we need to also invite the National Treasury to form part of this meeting so that if there are any issues related to their jurisdiction, they can be able to provide clarity on. I think I saw about 2 officials for National Treasury as observers and be able to answer any clarity-seeking questions, Chair. After that, Chair will move to adopt the agenda of the meeting. And also, I also want to highlight that I received an apology from Member Peters, who attended that, who indicated that she will be like to be excused at 11 o'clock to catch a flight. So, Chair, those are the apologies I have managed to receive thus far. Chair will proceed to receive a presentation from DSD SASSA on the investigation of vulnerabilities in the SASSA system. Chair will also proceed at the same time to get a presentation from SASSA on progress report regarding the compliance with the National Treasury conditions. And then we'll have will engage on discussion from 10:40 to 12:20, and then we'll proceed with our internal business, Chair, just to consider and adopt a committee on a referral on statutory rape, Chair. So, and then we'll wrap up. I'll provide an update on the CDA summit and other internal businesses on issues that are before the committee. At 12:50 to 1 o'clock, you will do your closing remarks as the chairperson, and also the meeting will adjourn. Thank you very much, Chair. This is the agenda of today's meeting for the Portfolio Committee on Social Development to consider and adopt it. I thank you very much, Chair. Chair, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lindwe. For that, honourable members, I would like I see that the DG has a hand on. Is this now, DG? Go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning, Honorable Chairperson and members, Minister. We are in Pretoria here. There is a serious electricity shutdown due to rain, so we might be disturbed. If you can't hear us well, we are on and off where we are currently. We are hibernating somewhere so that we're on and off. So I just wanted to alert the members and the committee that when you see that there's on and off, it's because of the whole town is a little bit the shutdown. It's on and off. We are using generator. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much for that, DG. For now, you are very, very clear. So we hope that it stays like that. But thank you for alerting the honourable members of the situation in the capital, the administrative capital of this country. We hope everything goes well and that you can go back to normal. Honourable members, just before I hand over to the Honourable Minister to give, I want to find out if one of the members can please adopt the agenda for us. Any member.
I do, Chairperson. My name is Chilitse Mnyai. Thank you.
Oh, is your name Chilitse Mnyai? Thank you, Honourable Chilitse Mnyai, for adopting the agenda. Is the Honourable Chilitse Mnyai being seconded in any way?
Chairperson? Seconded.
Okay. Thank you, Honourable Ramaila, for seconding the adoption of the agenda. Thank you, honourable members. Just before I hand over to the Honourable Minister, I think I would be seriously failing in doing my work if I didn't officially say to the to the honourable members and the department and its entities that the reason why you do not see the Honourable Abrams in our midst is because she's gone on to be the Republic's deputy minister for for what? For trading? What is it? Okay, she has become
Trade and industry.
Trade and industry and competition. Sorry, thank you so much, Lindwe. I don't know, I just hit a block there. The Honourable Abrahams has gone on to be the Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry and Competition. She has already been sworn in by the Honourable President, and we wish her all the best in the new role that she has assumed, and some of us are very confident that she will handle that work with extreme competence, and the country will benefit from that. So without any further ado, I would also like then now to hand over to the Honorable Minister, who I know is here because I saw her name. And I greet you again, Honorable Minister, and you are welcome. Please take over, ma'am. Thanks.
Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, the Deputy Minister of DSD, Honorable Harif Hendricks, in his absence, the Director General, Mr. Peter Nechipale, Acting CEO of SASSA, Ms. Zodwa Mvulane, Acting CEO of NDA, Ms. Rapasha Ramkhupa, senior officials from National Treasury, and all senior officials from the DST portfolio present here. Good morning. I want to take this opportunity and thank you, Honorable Chairperson, for the opportunity you gave us to brief the committee on current measures that SASSA is implementing to address critical issues of system vulnerabilities. This relates to alleged vulnerabilities in the application process for the Social Relief of Distress SRD grant. Chair, allow me, Honorable Chair, to extend my most sincere congratulations along with my warm wishes for success to the former member of this portfolio committee, Honorable Alexander Abrahams, on her recent appointment as Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition. Siyamhalalusela, siyayazi ukuthi imbokotho uzokwenza kahle, inkosi izoba naye. Chair, the alleged system vulnerabilities at SASSA were first exposed by two first-year students at the University of Stellenbosch last year. This matter received extensive media attention, prompting this committee to recommend a thorough investigation of the SRD system and other grant administration platforms. Honorable members, as you will recall, President Cyril Ramaphosa introduced the COVID-19 SRD in response to the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. At the time, the department and SASSA planned and designed an online digital technology systems and platforms for application assessment, verification, and payment of SRD. This accelerated SASSA's adoption of digital application and payment technologies. In an environment of accelerating digital transformation, system vulnerability have grown in sophistication and scale, and SASSA is no exception. In response to this committee's recommendation, we appointed Mascara and Associates Incorporated to conduct an independent comprehensive vulnerability assessment and penetration. Testing of the SRD online platform. In addition to identifying system vulnerabilities, the appointment services provider was required to develop a comprehensive threat detection, prevention, and mitigation plan. The Mascara report, which we presented to this committee earlier this year, confirmed that the SRD system was vulnerable to cybersecurity threats in 4 critical areas. Key amongst these, the investigation identified weak encryption and unauthorized application programming interface, fraudulent websites mimicking SASSA's official platform, and beneficiary payment disruption. The key recommendation was that SASSA must strengthen its authentication and cybersecurity measures, take immediate action against fraudulent websites, improve beneficiary verification, payment security, and enhance its information technology governance and accountability. Honorable Chair, I can assure you that SASSA has been hard at work in implementing the recommendation to ensure that we safeguard public resource entrusted to us. Part of the measures that SASSA is currently implementing to address system vulnerabilities include the rollout of biometric verification, for online transaction upgrades in security protocols and closer collaboration with key institutions such as the South African Revenue Services, the Unemployment Insurance Fund, and banking institutions. I must, however, hasten to add, honorable members, that vulnerability assessment is not a once-off exercise, but an ongoing process. For this reason, SASSA is conducting vulnerability assessment on a quarterly basis. The agent continues to work diligently to reinforce its systems, employ advanced security mechanisms, and put in place monitoring tools that detect and respond promptly to any attempts by cyber criminals. The effectiveness and efficiency of these ongoing measures are assessed independently on a periodic basis by SASSA. Internal audit and internal audit assurance evaluates the effectiveness of controls, risk management, and governance. As we continue to implement these preventive and mitigation measures, we welcome the recent announcement by the Minister of Finance to extend the SRD until end of March 2027. Chair, the extension marks a critical shift in our government's ongoing commitment to support vulnerable individuals, especially in the face of the current economic climate. With faster monthly biometric verification and enhanced digital tools, we will continue to ensure that the SRD only benefits those who need it most. The extension will also give us an adequate time to finalize policy proposal on the introduction of the basic income support and directed by the Cabinet. This is the means to make sure that we develop a permanent arrangement in mitigating the strategy to fight poverty. We recently held a 2-day colloquium which focused on concretizing proposal on linking social protection with labor market and employment programs. We intend to table this policy proposal to the Cabinet before the end of the current fiscal year with the view to publish for public consultation. Honorable Chair, the second presentation will focus on the implementation of the National Treasury conditions to the SASSA budget allocation to strengthen fiscal accountability and governance. Central to these reforms is a new provision granting the Minister of Finance expanded powers under the Section 4(1) of the Appropriation Act to impose conditions on departmental allocations to ensure compliance, transparency, and effective management to the public. I am happy that National Treasurer is here today to hear us closely on the progress that we are making in that regard. Because, Chair, these conditions complement measures already underway to safeguard the integrity of South Africa's social assistance system. Fraudulent activities have long undermined the credibility of our social grants administration, diverting resources from the most vulnerable. These measures are not punitive, but preventive to ensure that we live up to our mantra, paying the right social grant to the right person at the right time and place, njalo. Honorable Chair and honorable members, you will see from our reports this morning that SASSA has turned the corner, but the path ahead requires persistent purpose and every hand on the door. Going forward, our task now is to focus with unwavering resolve to safeguard these hard-won gains in the current fiscal year and beyond. Honorable Chair, allow me now to hand over to the acting CEO of SASSA, Ms. Sodwa Mvilane, and her team to lead the presentation. I thank you.
Please go ahead, Ms. Mvilane and your team. Thanks.
Good morning, Chairperson, honorable members, Minister, and the Deputy Minister. May I indicate that Otatumatlo is back, but in the process of us planning, he was not available. Therefore, I've just been requested to caretake this process this morning. So to get into the presentation, Chair, let me indicate that as the Minister highlighted, it's in twofold. The first presentation, we are giving the second update to the Honourable House in terms of the update on the vulnerabilities and all the measures that have been recommended for SASSA, but also to indicate that, as the Minister highlighted, we have definitely put all those measures in place. You will notice that our presentation has a green color for most of the recommendations that were made, except for 2 areas where it is amber, and it is amber because it's work in progress. It's something that we have just to keep highlighting on as we go along. Then the second presentation, Honourable Chair, it's around the issue of the conditions that have been set by National Treasury. So the conditions that were set, all in all, there are 5. 4 of them, it's us to put in measures to ensure that we clean our data and ensure that we have the right people receiving the grant. Then the 5th one is just us reporting on the progress, which we're supposed to be reporting on a quarterly basis. So it's just to also brief the committee on how far we have gone and what positive results we have yielded in this process. So I am now handing over to Ujabulani Makondo, being our acting CIO, on the first presentation. Then he will be followed shortly by Brenton van Friede on the conditionalities as set. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Portfolio Committee members, our Honourable Minister, Deputy Minister, if he's in the meeting, the executive managers of or management of both SASSA and DSD. I'm just also at the same time trying to load the presentation, Chairperson, just to make sure that I can move to the what do you call it, to the presentation mode. There you go. All right. Just to confirm, Chairperson, if you can see the presentation.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You will see we have got the purpose background. I'm not necessarily going to go through that. But the purpose of the presentation is just to appraise the portfolio committee in terms of the progress we've made to date in addressing the vulnerabilities as identified by the Maskhare report. Just to give a bit of it's a history and a background at the same time that members will remember that around 2020, that's when we started paying the social relief of distress. That's when the president actually announced that we need to have some mechanism just to close the gap in terms of those who have lost employment. The SRD system was actually then rolled out, and as you can see on this screen, Chair and the members, it's quite a massive system because we are processing about 17.8 million clients. These are the people who are actually applying for the grants, and out of that we have got close about 4.5 million that actually are approved. Average we are looking at about 8 million average per month that are approved. But from the applicant point of view, we're dealing with about 17.8 million. So it shows that it's quite a massive system that actually tried to bridge the gap. The next slide, Chair and members, is we just also indicate that as an organization, for us to process your application and decide in terms of whether we approve or decline it, we rely on number of databases. Those databases, first of all, for example, Department of Home Affairs, before an applicant applies, when he get into the SRD system and it places application, we need to validate and verify the person's identity. So we've got like a real-time interface with Home Affairs. The minister did mention that there was an issue of biometrics that we have sort of deployed within the organization. So we have got a facial biometrics that when you apply through the SRD, then through your face, we then validate your identity with Home Affairs. We also interface with SARS, GPF, PESAL, and the DPSA, and any other data sets that exist within the government, because we use this data set to validate and from there to be able to provide the approval of whether we can then pay you the grant. We also check with the banks just to make sure that there's no any source of income that gets into your account. So we do have those relationships with those different stakeholders. We do have memorandum of understanding or agreement with them. I think it was around 2024 when the Stellenbosch students alleged that our SRD system is vulnerable. And then from that allegation, we took those allegations seriously, and I think that's when the DSD appointed Masikare and Associate to come and conduct assessment in terms of vulnerability assessment, just to check how vulnerable is the SRD system, and also to do what we call a pen test. Pen test, that's when you say, if you've got a vulnerability, can I exploit this vulnerability? Can I try to check if indeed this vulnerability can give me an access to actually do any malicious work within the system. So after the report was provided to SASSA, we went through all the findings. I must also indicate, Chair, that there were vulnerability findings, and there were also findings that were more like a risk, but not necessarily vulnerabilities within the system. Let me also repeat what the minister said in terms of the vulnerabilities assessment. It is not a once-off exercise. Why do I say this? Because sometimes there's a view and a belief that when I come and present and say we have addressed all the findings, some people might think that tomorrow we might not have findings. You might have vulnerabilities. And how do vulnerabilities come about? So because our systems are not static, are very agile, we need to update our system, you need to change certain configurations. And as and when you install some of the new software to make the system to be more recent, it might also open certain vulnerabilities on your system. And as you implement certain policies, you might actually introduce some other vulnerabilities. That's why on a quarterly basis, as an agency, we conducted the assessment just to check if there's any new vulnerabilities that we might pick up. And once we pick up those vulnerabilities, we have got like a framework in terms of addressing them. And our framework will obviously classify the vulnerabilities, the one from critical to low. And the critical vulnerabilities, we make sure that we respond to them or address them or mitigate them as soon as possible. Allow me, Chair, now to go through the vulnerabilities as identified and the risks. I'm not necessarily going to read each and every vulnerability, Chair, but I'm going to point you to most critical ones. I think the very first two, they call them a content security policy. So what it is, we found that within the SRD configuration, there was no proper security configuration within the system, whereby someone can actually inject or someone can send a program, a malicious program, into our SRD system from another website. So, for example, someone can be sitting anywhere in the world or anywhere in the country accessing SASSA SRD and accessing SASSA SRD through another website, and through that process, someone, because of this misconfiguration, will be able to send a program or what we call it a code and inject in or program something untoward within the SRD. So I think that was really a critical challenge within the SRD. And I must indicate, Chair, that no, to date we have addressed those challenges. You will not be able to inject any malicious code within the SRD because the security configuration, the security heading of the CSP has been properly configured to block such. The next one that I'm going to talk to share is you look there on the next screen. We'll talk about weak encryption standards. So the encryption, the finding was when a client connect into the SRD system and then he punch in his or her ID number, contact details, and let's say the bank account, that information, it was visible to someone who can try to track it. In ICT language, you call it a man in the middle, meaning that someone can plug a device between the applicant and the SASSA server and to monitor the data that is passing through or the data that's being exchanged between the two systems. So if you don't have encryption, or proper security in there, the data that is transacting between the two or is being exchanged, it will be in clear text, meaning that if I type in my ID number will come as I type it. But when it's encrypted, that ID number actually is changed, and you'll have a characters that you won't be able to tell what is the data all about. And I must also indicate, Chair, that no, we have also addressed that, and this provides the protection of the personal information that actually is being sent into the SRD system as they apply. The next screen, Chair, we're talking about certain directories on the server are accessible to the public. So if you configure a server and you have got people accessing that server, there is certain information that is not supposed to be accessible to certain people. So basically, in ICT term, you say you have got rights, meaning that no, when you access this particular server, the rights that is given to you is you only be able to access this data, and you can only be able, for example, to read and not necessarily change the data. So we have certain folders or area where we have certain data that we save there, that data was not supposed to be visible to any applicant, and we have actually moved those storages to a secure environment whereby no applicant will be able to access that particular storage. And let me also maybe talk on this other one where it talks about the system downtime, where they said the finding was they are saying that although the system has demonstrated high availability, technical failure or cyber attacks could result in service interruptions. As I've indicated when I started in terms of the configuration of the CSP. So what will happen if the CSP policy is not configured correctly? It will allow a malicious code to be injected into our SRD, and that it can bring down the server, meaning that now people won't be able to apply. They are saying that no, we do have high availability. So what they mean is when you configure system, most especially critical system like SRD, you will make sure that no, you have got high availability and redundancy. High availability meaning that if one system fails, you should be able to bring up the next system. So within the organization, we have got 2 data centers, meaning that we have got 2 areas where our servers are being housed, so that if one center fails because of power or because of any other malicious work, we're able to bring up the other side. So I must say that no, because now we've closed that gap of CSP, obvious the likelihood of injecting a malicious code is definitely minimized, but at least we still have high availability whereby if one system goes down, then we're able to bring up the next system. The next one is the issue around the limit use of biometrics, and I think the issue of biometrics has been in the talks for quite some time. I can report today that we have rolled out the facial biometrics, since you know that the SRD application process is totally the whole value chain is done online. So now what you are able to do now is when you apply, whether through your cell phone, you are able now to project your face, and we validate your identity and verify your identity against Home Affairs. This biometrics is also being extended to other social grant processes, our normal social grant processes. Let me also talk on the two areas on the screen. One, the unprotected database backup files, saying that the backup files that were found on the server were not protected. So what we have done, we've also moved this particular the backup files where they were into a safer storage. This also talks to the other findings that I've already alluded to, whereby we are saying that there were certain directives that were not supposed to be visible to a normal applicant. So we have actually moved this. But the next one, which I believe that is very critical and also gave life, as far as I'm concerned, to identity theft. Whereby we have got external website mimicking SASSA. So what was happening, and another thing, this also talked to the issue of CSP that I've spoken about. So let's say I've got Jabulani, who is a cyber bully who just wanted to do damages to website. So Jabulani will create or establish another website, and that website will look exactly like SASSA website. Obvious for an ordinary citizen, you won't tell the difference between sassa.gov.za and sassa.ac.za. And obvious, if you've got the same emblem and everything look alike, the same colors and all sort of things, so you won't tell the difference. So what was happening is, when somebody search for SASSA, he come across this particular website that looks like SASSA, and then you enter your information there, your ID number, your name, and your account, and your address. Now, those people will then harvest that information, and they can reuse that information to apply, for example, on your behalf. And that website was able to sort of exchange data or information with the SRD, that CSP configuration that I spoken about when I started. So, one, what we have done, because we have now improved the security of the CSP, there's no website that will be able to exchange any data with an SRD system, right? Because we have blocked that. But secondly, which is also crucial, is we actually partner with a third party, whereby we are bringing down or shutting down websites that are mimicking SASSA. This is a collaborative work, because we must also bring in the .za domain. .za domain is a consortium of companies that actually coordinate and facilitate the registration of a particular website. So we are saying to them that if any website that is registered that come with a SASSA name and with these logos, such website, it must be taken down, because it's not a legal website, but it's a website that might be used just to harvest data of our beneficiaries. So I think earlier in the year, I don't necessarily have the numbers, but we're sitting above 150 websites that we could pick up on the internet that were looking alike as a SASSA SRD. And to date, I know that through this partnership, .za domain and our service provider, we have actually shut down close about I think around 70 website. Let me also indicate that the bringing down of this website is sometimes a challenge, because you can only shut down that website if that particular website it's live and it's up at that particular time. So, for example, you can have a website that mimics SASSA. Today it's up and running, but tomorrow when you try to access it, that website has been switched off. So sometimes we've got those challenges, but because we continue to monitor existence of such, this is an ongoing work. I think now on the next one, next screen, Chair, we're talking about the discrepancies between submitted data and database record can lead to delays or rejection of applications. As I've indicated that no, SASSA will rely solely on most of these databases from different entities and government institutions. And sometimes, because we are not actually exchanging data in real time to some of these entities. For example, let's say SARS as an example. We have to send the data to them, and then from there they analyze it, then they send feedback to us. And what they were saying is that the process, because obviously if it's not real time, it can have some delay. And sometimes we might have a data that's maybe 3 months or a month older, and we can use that data to decide in terms of whether we approve or not approve, only to find out that data now has been updated, and as such, it can create a problem. And so this is not necessarily a vulnerability, but this is a risk that that actually we as an organization we can experience, and that it can actually disadvantage our beneficiaries in terms of them receiving their grants, their grant in time. I think on this one, okay. The next one, in terms of periodic revalidate cell phone ownership, we do have a number of, we do have an agreement and MOA with the credit bureau, and we also use that data set to make sure that we update our contact details within the SRD. And this is very crucial, because if you need to communicate to a beneficiary, if you have got an old cell phone, you might send a message that might go to a wrong applicant or wrong beneficiary. So it's important that we need to keep updating this. And this is also not necessarily a vulnerability, but actually it's a risk that has been identified. Let me talk to the one that is I don't know whether it's yellow or orange. I've got a problem with colors. Where we're talking about multiple applicants per cell phone. And when we started the SRD, we understood the challenges faced by some of the applicants, that they might not necessarily have a phone or a smartphone. So we enabled the system that one cell phone can be used to about 10 applicants. We also know that sometimes our counselors will go and assist this applicant by using their smartphone. So we were allowing this to go through into the application process, whereby you've got one cell phone, but that cell phone is linked to 10 beneficiaries. And this actually is a risk, was not necessarily a vulnerability, to say if you've got this, actually it might actually expose you to other type of fraud. This action, we have not yet actually implemented it fully, because it's a work in progress. It's going to take a bit of time. Now we are starting the process to communicate to all those applicants whereby they are sharing a one cell phone, and to say to them, please log into the SRD. We provide a link. You log into the SRD so that then you can update your cell phone. And with the facial biometrics, we're able to make sure that before you do that, we validate, verify your identity. Then obviously it's going to take a bit of time, because we are sitting at about 8 million in our database. Chair, I just want to check. I'm not sure if Mr. Mbedli is connected, because the next screen, Chair, is the assurance that has been provided by internal audit, because after we have remediated the vulnerabilities, internal audit was supposed to come through and run their penetration test and their vulnerability assessment, just to check if indeed those vulnerabilities has been addressed. So I'm not sure if Mr. Mbedli is here.
Me, Chair.
Oh, okay, no. Thank you. Through you, Chair, may I hand over to Mr. Mbedli just to take us through the assurance portion. Thank you.
With your permission, Chairperson.
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair, honorable members, honorable Minister and the DM, CFO, DG, and all the colleagues on the platform, good morning. Chair, my name is Moses Mbedli. I am the head of internal audit at SASSA. You can go back, Mr. Makondo, on the previous presentation. Part of this presentation, Chair, covers the work that was done by internal audit to provide that independent assurance on the progress that has been reported by the acting CIO. Chair, I must mention that internal audit has a dedicated IT section, which actually performed the assurance work on the progress given. We performed the vulnerability and penetration test on the SRD platform, focusing mainly on those vulnerabilities that were exploited by the Stellenbosch university students, as well as the report from the Masgarene. Overall, Chair, we assess, if you look at the HTTP security, content security policy, those will form basically the security design and configuration of the SRD to check if controls are effective to prevent vulnerabilities previously exploited. We can move to the next one. Chair, when we assess the security measures since they have been implemented on the SRD platform, we noted progress on the following, amongst others, without repeating what the acting CIO has already provided on the progress now. Firstly, there are now strict security settings which assist because it limits the risk of manipulation. The site as well allows approved as well as the safe scripts which prevent the risk of hacking. So, Chair, we can say that there are various best practices, security practice measures that helps keep the user's data private, prevent hacking attempts, and also allow for a safer space for our beneficiaries to be able to transact. Chair, but in addition, we performed a firewall review. Just as an example, Chair, a firewall audit will be like the first security checkpoint before one enters your parliament precinct in Cape Town. And let's say you are going to attend a meeting at Mark's building, where again you still have another checkpoint at that building. So we can call, in this case, Chair, Mark's building, maybe the SRD platform. And then meaning that if you, by any luck, you are able to bypass the first security checkpoint, which is the firewall, you will still need, or you will still be subjected to another one, which is at Mark's building. So, Chair, the firewall is the first line of defense, which complement the SRD security measure in place. In these cases, I've made an example of the Mark's building now. And we were satisfied with the measures that were put in place on that first line. I hope, Chair, I managed to simplify this one as I was explaining on that one. Lastly, Chair, we also noted, if you can see on the presentation, a slight reduction in the number of identity theft cases that have been reported over the last 2 years. If you look at 2023, we were looking at about 1.1. It went up, I think, more or less at the same time when we were getting the report coming from the Stellenbosch student. And now, if you look between April and end of September, Chair, we are sitting at around 500, which suggests that to some extent, the control measures that are there to address the vulnerability that leads to identity theft are working to an extent. But we also appreciate, Chair, that some of the cases may not find their way in terms of being reported. I think we are not discarding that part, Chair. I think I've come to the next slide, which basically just make a recommendation. I can just hand over back to the acting CE just to do the honors on this one. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable members of Portfolio Committee, Minister, Deputy Minister, DG, CEOs, and acting CEOs of entities, colleagues. Good morning, and I'll be taking us through the next part of the presentation, which is a progress report regarding the compliance with the National Treasury conditions. Just in terms of the presentation outline, we'll look at the purpose, the overview. We'll go through some of the conditions that the National Treasury has given to us, as well as some data reports that we then supply to them in our first and second quarter reporting, and conclude with the recommendation slides. So this presentation largely aims to report SASSA's compliance with National Treasury's directives for the first half of the financial year, and also seeks to highlight SASSA's strategic intentions to meet the National Treasury requirements and the mitigation strategies that reinforce the SASSA's commitment to effective financial management, operational efficiency, and transparent governance on the social assistance framework. The next two slides looks at the National Treasury conditions, and then the slides that follow that, we will then work through a few slides that shows to what extent we are compliant with those conditions. It's also important to note that these conditions were recently amended as well, as to the conditions that we were given in July this year. We have received a further or another allocation letter on 6th of November this year, where the conditions were slightly changed, and we're still engaging with National Treasury on the changes that they've made to these conditions. I think for honourable members, the key thing to note was that in the previous conditions, there was the condition that if there was unsatisfactory progress with meeting these conditions, that the department would have to withhold our transfer funds to us. In this new allocation letter, Treasury has taken that clause out, which means the transfer funds to SASSA is not necessarily at risk any longer if the conditions aren't met. However, the risk still does remain that if we don't meet the conditions, the spending on the SASSA's budget could be then deemed as irregular spending. So in terms of progress, and I'm going to go through the conditions and then the progress on each one of them. The first one says that SASSA must, upon registration and biannually, conduct bank income checks on applicants and recipients of a child support grant, on basically all the grants. So currently, we had a little bit of a delay in introducing the bank means checks, but we have managed to finalize those contracts, and we have managed to do our first round of bank checks before the end of the first quarter. So in terms of the biannual requirement, which would mean one in the first quarter, not the first quarter, the first half of the year, would mean one in the first half of the year and then the second one in the second half of the year. We have met we are compliant with that particular condition. However, Treasury has changed this condition in the new allocation letter, where they've inserted it not only twice a year, but on registration as well. At this stage, our systems aren't geared to do this on registration, and it might be a bit difficult to implement immediately for that. And we're still engaging with the Treasury in terms of this particular requirement. The second requirement is that SASSA must conduct credit bureau checks of applicants for all the grant types. This is also a new condition that they've inserted in the November allocation letter. This is actually something we did at the beginning of the financial year when we were struggling to get the bank income checks up and running. We implemented this intervention to get the ball rolling on our reviews, and they've now then added this as a condition to the allocation letter. Again, in terms of the biannual checks, here we are compliant with this condition. We've already done two credit bureau checks in the first half of the year, but they've also then added this, in addition to the biannual, they've also added it on this condition on registration, which is as similar to the bank checks. It's not something we planned for, so this is something we still have to then develop going forward. In terms of so this is also a new condition that they've provided. SASSA must initiate and conduct any other income and asset checks of applicants and the recipients of the child support grant. This is a fairly vague condition, which we're not quite sure what they mean by it, and we're still having engagements with them to understand what exactly they require from us. But currently, we do conduct income checks and we do conduct regular reviews and income assessments at the point of application. We just need to confirm if that is adequate in terms of this condition. Then the fourth condition is that SASSA must conduct database cross-checks of applicants of all the grant types against Home Affairs, Correctional Services, PASAL, Unemployment Insurance Fund, SARS, NSFAS, and the Government Employees Fund. We do conduct checks on all of these databases at the point of registration, except for SARS, due to SARS not sharing, SARS does not share their data with us. They work similar to the way the banks work, in that we have to send data to them, and then they will give us a response to the data we send to them, which makes implementation on registration not feasible. But in terms of the other databases, we do have all of these checks in place at the point of registration, because we do source that data from those government departments, and then can build it into our systems. In terms of the biannual checks as well, we have conducted the first round of biannual checks in the first half of the year, with the exception of SARS. We just had a bit of delay with SARS in that we didn't get the data back that we sent them before the end of the second quarter. But we have received it now, and we are busy analyzing it, and we'll start scheduling reviews on that data in the third quarter. In terms of the fifth condition, SASSA must conduct biometric checks on all SRD and social grant applications that SASSA deems suspicious. In terms of implementation, we've implemented this fully on our COVID SRD system for new applications, and we've also identified high-risk applications from previous applications which we flagged for biometric identification. And then at our local offices as well, we've rolled out biometric identification to all face-to-face applications in local offices. The only outstanding item on this condition is the online system for the social grants, not the SRD grant, but we have another online system where beneficiaries or applicants can apply for social grants. This we expect to go live by the end of November. In terms of progress in terms of reports, SASSA must submit quarterly reports to National Treasury in terms of the 5 conditions listed above. These must be done within 30 days, and then there's a bunch of reporting requirements that we must comply with in those reports. We have submitted the first and second quarter reports to National Treasury within the 30-day requirement. But those, obviously, the reports were based on the first or the second allocation letter that they've sent us. The third, as a new allocation letter, was only received after the second quarter completed. And these reports included the number of reviews submitted, the number of social grants suspended and cancelled, and the amount of savings that we've generated from this activity, which the next few slides will also provide members with some of that data. When we started the process, the bank income checks was the one that was causing, or that we had a little bit of a delay on, but we have subsequently managed to conclude that process and finalized all our contracts with the banks within the second quarter, and managed to then meet the sort of that biannual requirement by being able to do the first bank checks within the first half of the year. For this phase, we focus on the child support grant beneficiaries, noting that there are 2 means tests for the child support grant beneficiaries. One for single beneficiaries who are single, and another one for beneficiaries who are married. Because we have to test these things individually with the banks, we can only run one test at a time with the banks, and we run 6 million records of child support grant recipients, which are your single beneficiaries who are single. Also, to be more efficient with our review process, noting that we've planned to do 400,000 reviews for the financial year. We want to target those reviews to identify clients who are most at highest risk of potentially misrepresenting themselves. So what we've also done was we triangulated the data between the banks and the credit bureaus, together with the databases that we received from the other government departments that we test against. So here we've identified, between the banks and the credit bureaus, we've identified 161 recipients that were found on both of those databases. And then when we check the data against the various other departments, such as GBF, BASEL, BASAL, and UIF. So for example, if you take BASEL, if you just run BASEL against SOC in our database, you'd find about 150,000 beneficiaries that are also on BASEL. But noting that there are, what we found in the past, that there are sometimes quite a lot of errors within the various government databases. We then also compared those beneficiaries that were found on BASEL against their bank details. And that number then significantly reduces to only 7,000 that we could actually see that they had income coming through into their bank accounts. And then we've conducted similarly this exercise across all of the databases to try and identify the beneficiaries that are more likely. So in other words, they're found on multiple sources of data indicating that they potentially have income that's above the threshold. And that then brings us to a total number of about 291,000 beneficiaries that has been identified for purposes of review in the next round of reviews, which have now commenced. So and then also got to mention, as mentioned earlier on with the SARS, because we got their data a bit late, they weren't included in this, so this number might go up a little bit more than the 291 once we incorporate the SARS data into that. However, we have commenced with reviews for the second quarter, and we've scheduled up. We started the first about 75,000 reviews that we've already initiated, and we'll continue to initiate. We should do another 200 plus thousand reviews before the end of the financial year. In In terms of outputs for the quarter one and quarter two, we've initiated about 259,000 reviews in the first two quarters. And these are across these grants, about the bulk of them were on the child support grant of 104,000 and the older persons grant 102,000. Of these reviews that clients were notified, 201,000 has come forward to complete the review process, and the remaining, the difference between that and the 15, that's about 60,000 were then sent letters of suspension to say that if they don't come forward to complete their reviews, the grant will be suspended. The bulk of those are then on your CSG grant beneficiaries, it's 100,000, and the older persons grant beneficiaries, about 65,000, has come forward for reviews. And the outcome of those reviews, two things could happen. One is you could have your grant value adjusted. So for grants like the disability grant and the older persons grant, these are grants that are paid on a sliding scale. So for example, the means test for the grant is roughly 30,000 rands per annum, and it grows and at that point you'll get the full value of the grant if your income is below that, and that increases to about 80,000 rands, where you then you'll get increments. So your grant could be reduced from the full value by roughly increments of 10 rands up to where you would only get about 100 rands at the upper threshold of the means test. And once you cross that threshold, you wouldn't get anything. So with these grants, you have to do a very accurate income assessment to determine whether or not you get the full grant or a portion of the grant. And when we did the reviews, about 8,600 beneficiaries had their grants. They still qualified for the grant, but because of their income levels, they had their grant values reduced. The bulk of those were older person grants, and about 900 disability grant beneficiaries as well. In terms of grants that were lapsed, 34,000 grants were lapsed across the different grant types, with the child support grant being the bulk of those, 28,000 followed by the disability grant, 4,000, and roughly 1,000 on the older persons grant. In terms of savings, from lapsed grants, of the 34,000 that was lapsed, the monthly savings are around about 28.5 million. The monthly savings are about 28.5 million. And if one looks at the savings then for the current financial year, that will be around about 107.7 million. And that's just from the time it was lapsed to the end of the financial year. But if you want also do an estimate what the savings would be for a full financial year, which would be the savings in the next financial year, because these grants are no longer active in the system, that would be approximately 340 million rands. In terms of going forward for the second half of the year, we've already commenced notifications, focusing mainly on the child support grant beneficiaries across the databases that I've shown earlier, triangulated with the bank income checks as well as credit bureau checks. We found, we sent out the first round of notifications for about 75,780 at the end of September, and then also we've sent out a similar batch in October. We will not send out any notifications in November to prevent, because we also note that during the December-January period, many of our staff take leave. So we are open, we do run during those times, but we also don't want to create a overflow of clients accessing our offices. So we will put a pause on the reviews for those 2 months. Obviously, those that have already been scheduled can still come in to the office during the February-January period, and then we'll commence with the last round of notifications towards the end of January, to ensure that we still reach that 200,000 target that we have for the second half of the financial year. But in terms of that, I think we're well on progress to meeting that target quite comfortably. In terms of biometric checks, as I've already gone through this, we have now rolled out biometrics fully from 1 September for all our face-to-face applications in local offices, and on the SRT system, we have implemented the facial biometrics fully on that system, with the only one that's still outstanding is the online grant system for the other grants. And that then brings me to the conclusion of the presentation, CEO.
Listen, we have arrived at the conclusion of our presentation, but just to emphasize on the presentation that was made by Dr. van Vrede, you will notice that currently we have made a saving of about 28 million. And there is also a projection that by the end of the financial year, we would have made considerable savings for the government. But this is mainly around us trying to clean the database of people that are being given the grants. So, and also, Chairperson, there's a slide where it indicates people that are found on the system. May I also just add that for COGTA, you'll see that of all the departments, COGTA happened to have more than 2,000 people that are there. It's because of the EPWP program that is being run under that department. But also, lastly, PESAL, you'll see that PESAL also has about more than 6,000 people. So the reason here might be because of the foster care grant, but we are definitely checking on it. So this is where we are then, Chairperson and honorable members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Vulane, and thank you to all the presentations that have been made to us this morning. I will ask my questions if they are not covered by the time we end with the questions. But I appreciate the work that has been done, and you know, and obviously what you've just said now about the savings, and the savings that have nothing to do with inconveniencing people that are the right beneficiaries. No, people, they've not, those savings have not come at the expense of the people that deserve to receive these grants. So that is appreciated. I will now, if I can have, I don't know what has happened to my, okay. My screen was just playing games with me. I will now hand over to the honourable members for deliberations and questions on the two presentations, which I believe were quite comprehensive and clear as to meeting the reasons for the presentations to be done, in terms of giving us a briefing on the vulnerabilities and the National Treasury the compliance with the National Treasury conditions. And I didn't know that they had National Treasury had added more. So it is also encouraging to see that even those that have been added have also been complied with. And I think as members, we will appreciate that some of these, as has been presented, some of these will be ongoing, because obviously we live in a world that is full of those who just want to have money they have not worked for. But thank you for those presentations. Honorable members, please come through and deliberate on the presentations. I will see your hands and recognize them, please. I recognize the Honorable Bishop Msweni for now. And I don't see any other hands. So, Honorable Bishop, please go ahead.
You. Chairperson, ngiyabonga. Hey, lezi zinto zabelungu ziyahlupha lapha. Kodwa ke angibonge kakhulu ithuba ongipha lona. Ngibonge ngembiko esiyethulelwayo ekseni nje kulomhlangano iyajabulisa kakhulu. Ngifuna ukudlulisa amazwi okubonga kakhulu Chairperson kulolu daba lwama website, laba abakha ama website afanayo naka SASSA. Siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi bakwazi ukubona lobugebengu nemizamo yonke abayenzileyo ngabo. Umbuzo wami wodwa Chairperson ukuthi ngiyafisa ukwazi ngoba izwe lethu lithuthuke kakhulu emazingeni obugebengu. Ubugebengu busihambela phambili njalo. Manje ngifisa ukwazi ukuthi njengoba bekwazile ukwabamba lama website amaningi kangaka, yini abazoyenza ukukuvimba? Banalo yini uhlelo, banakho yini uqeqeshwa okuthile abakutholile ukuvimba ukuthi kungaphinde kwenzeke, ngoba kuyabalimaza kakhulu abantu bakithi ukuthi kungaphinde kwenzeke? Singaba nayo into esithembisayo ukuthi lobu bugebengu sibubambe futhi akusekho umuntu oyobuye akwazi ukwenza iwebsite efanayo neka SASSA? Ikhona yini into abayenzayo ukuya phambili? Ngoba njengoba bebabambile siyazi ukuthi basazoqhubeka futhi nokufuna ukwenza obunye ubugebengu ngenye indlela. Kodwa singaba nalo ithemba nje makuphela lo mhlangano ukuthi kodwa ke le ngeke besakwazi ukuyenza, ngeke besakwazi ukwenza any website efanayo neka SASSA. Ngiyathokoza Sihlalo.
Siyabonga Bishop kakhulu. The Bishop, having asked the question, she thanks the department through SASSA for the reports very much, and the efforts that have been taken to do this work and identifying the fake websites and so on and so forth. And the question she has, though, is what can be done to completely, block or avoid these websites, these fake websites from continuing to happen. And that is, she would like to know if at the end of this meeting, will we have that assurance, please, from the department through SASSA. Thank you, Honorable Msweni. I now recognize the Honorable Chilidzi Munyai, and I recognize you, Honorable Rev Kobaza, after the Honorable Munyai. Over to you, sir.
When you work very fast, you sometimes forget where you place your notes. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Ndiyabulela kaya ndiyamukela amacecantshitshi omphathiswa ohloniphekileyo uNokuzola uTolashe. The overview was very solid, and I welcome that overview, especially with respect to the commitment of the department and the ministry on the introduction of the basic income support. That to me is moving mountains of South Africa, and also excitement to the South African to hear such an overview that is committing and rededicate the commitment of the minister on the introduction of the basic income grant. Second thing, it is very imperative to thank the department. Firstly, to acknowledge the weaknesses that has been identified by two students from the University of Stellenbosch, known for its credibility and its academic success in different fields. And I must say that to acknowledge is very important, Honorable Chair, because if you don't acknowledge the weaknesses, you will not be able to address those weaknesses. So the department has acknowledged, and also they made significant progress in addressing the issues that has been raised. And I know I also made some contribution to the debate, or to when there was presentation by the department and the two students. I want just to establish from the department, despite this significant progress that they've registered or recorded, are they still willing to consider the introduction of Cybersecurity Network Operation Center, or the introduction of the Cyber Range or Data Fusion Center to help real time to trace back what is happening in the systems beyond the firewalls? This is a basic technical, basic question. Yeah. But the other issues that I want to ask, which I think is coming from the presentation, and I'm sure the collective from the department will attempt to respond. The first question is relating to the feasibility on the registration checks. The presentation notes the conducting bank and credit bureau checks on registration is not possible. Could perhaps the presenter elaborate on the specific systematic, logistical, or data sharing obstacles that make it impossible? And I'm just asking this objectively to make sure that SASSA to strengthen the engagement with the Treasury to achieve the good progress in the spirit and content of intention to resolve the issues related to the condition which is causing a lot of backlogs. With regard to the new other income and asset check condition, regarding the new condition, I think you referred it as a 3.3.1.3. It's referred as on other income and asset check. The presentation states that, let me just ask a question. Could you clarify the specific aspects that are unclear with respect to this process? And perhaps what could be the other method of the data source that you use to clarify and develop a concrete plan to meet the requirements for the client, to meet the requirements of beneficiary to meet requirement. Now, there's issues of the a strategic rollout of biometrics and eKYC. I think this move to biometrics is a positive step to help SASSA to combat fraud prevention. And I'm sure it is very, very good work. And we must welcome you on this one, because it's very important to make sure that we don't lose money to criminals that want to take the most benefits for the vulnerable beneficiaries. Lastly, I want to really thank you, SASSA, and the department in general for taking a courage and the step to address the systematic challenges with respect to the problems of SASSA with respect to the issues that have been raised by the two boys. And I agree, Chairperson, I must make this statement, profound statement, by saying that even if you have deployed whatever system in the world, including those that are recommended, you know, the adversaries or your opponent, the very same second you develop, you finish deployment, you can also be vulnerable, because it's the evolution of technology is so fast. By the way, everywhere where you have an application, I'm just giving example, Chair, if you can permit me. In the phone, you have application. As long as you have an application, any other application that you put, there will be always a backdoor. Backdoor, I mean access to system to steal data or information or compromise the system. Let me leave it there, and thanking the ministry and the department for not really ignoring the call by the student, for taking it very seriously on behalf of South African, and take drastic steps that demonstrate the current progress, the current significant progress that the department has made on the issues that have been flagged, and swiftly and dealing with the matter as practical and urgent as possible. That we welcome in good spirit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Munyai, for that. And I think the other hand I saw was that of the Honorable Reverend Qabaza. It's over to you, Rev.
Thank you so much, Chair. My network is very bad, yeah. So I will not do the video. Greetings to the Minister, Deputy, and the DG, and honorable members. Maybe one would like to thank the department and SASSA of the work done, of which is very important. The IT space is a very critical element of SASSA due to the amount of money that they are working with, billions of rands that they are working with, and also that it has to be dispersed to the millions of people of South Africa. And I'll one maybe will say SASSA must not think that they must not use money for this technology, to get the right technology into SASSA, because the money is too much that we are dealing with. And there are people that are out there that would do exactly what they are doing now in terms of robbing the system and making sure that they are in enriching themselves with the system. Maybe again is that this was highlighted by a number of people, including the young boys from Stellenbosch. And for us, I think it is good that the department has responded with number of solutions in terms of what is happening. We would like to maybe to applaud that, because the money is a lot of money, and it's important for SASSA to have the right systems in place. Maybe another comment would be we really need to have one government, and systems must be integrated within all the necessary department that has to link with SASSA to make sure the verifications and everything. With an understanding, obviously, that there is already a link with Home Affairs, but we need all departments that needs to come on board for verification to make sure that we link, and we must have that one government in place in terms of integration. My colleague has highlighted the issue of a number of websites that are there. I will not go there. The biometrics, one again, will say it's a step in the right direction. Facial recognition is a step again to the right direction. Systems and cyber security, criminals, these things are changing every day. I think we should have a cyber security center for SASSA that will really deal with this, because of the amount of people that the money has to be dispersed to. We need to have that the hub that will deal with these things and make sure that they test again and again, making sure that we are safe, and the money for beneficiaries, it is safe. I'm not too sure how SASSA have dealt with the issue, because the young boys had mentioned also the issue of there is, when they come in or when they try to apply, it says that a person is already earning money from SASSA, and this thing, it goes beyond SASSA, it goes to the bank also, because the bank has opened an account for this particular person. So I'm not too sure what has SASSA done with the issue, because it moved from SASSA, because SASSA, it has been said the application has been processed and you are earning money already, and the bank has opened the account, of which the issue of the bank, what has SASSA done with that, because I think on that one is a corroboration of the bank and that particular person, because at the bank you can't you have an ID, and it does everything there also, your fingerprint of all your fingers and all of that, and if ever these people have opened banks accounts from certain bank, then how did they do it with the IDs and everything? So I just want to know what have they done with that to make sure that that does not happen again. On this side, we have done it right, but with the banks, what has happened on the bank side? Have they looked at that, and have they done anything? If they have, thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Reverend. I do not see any other hand at the moment, and I have seen some warnings on my system this side about the strength of the connection of the bandwidth, as the Honorable Mnyai would say, as a person who is quite experienced with these types of things. So, but I would like to ask my questions to the department, because I was just going through as the presentation was happening. I was asking myself a number of questions and appreciating the fact that this is going on, and the numbers of the actual grants are quite huge. And while so much progress has been made, I was just asking myself, so we will just keep going. They will not be, the targets are not going to be to reach all the millions that we have at a certain time. Do we have smaller targets for, say, quarters or years, or I missed that part in terms of the targets that the National Treasury has asked, and obviously, because this is the work that is happening at SASSA anyway, these reviews are done by SASSA. But I would like to find out also if it is possible, even if it's after this meeting, to sort of do some kind of a breakdown, because it would be interesting to know how many of the child support grants that were cancelled, literally cancelled through these reviews, because people not coming through for reviews. And also it would be interesting to see how many were for biometrics not being provided, or for income being above the threshold, and the income and how many were happening, were cancelled, or were found to have failed to provide evidence from you due to not evidence from UIF not being attained, because it for me, I think SASSA has also said in the past that the contacting of these beneficiaries is an issue due to number changes, due to people not, getting back to SASSA and doing those things, and all the efforts that have been made to make sure that the grants are not just being summarily cancelled, but people are given the chance to actually come through, because reviews have to be done because of the conditions, but also because of the ongoing work that SASSA is doing to do these reviews to protect the system from people receiving grants that are not supposed to be receiving those grants. Because also you'll find that in other offices, you find that there are long queues, and people then don't get to present their documents because of just being in long queues, and then the threshold that the office will be able to deal with comes to an end, and then the person does not get into the office to actually present their documents to prove that they are the right person for the grants. And the biometric, the offlines and downtimes and all sorts of things that make it not possible for SASSA to actually go through all the people that present themselves to make sure that their reviews are done, so that people can then continue to receive their grants. And so I think it was still this month or last month when we went to KZN, we went to offices that were where a person walked in, and by the time they've walked out, they have done every single thing. And we were told that if the system goes down and the person is there, the information is taken, and then once the system comes up, then it is put through the system, and then it can be finalized. So I think more information will help for us, as I have asked, and I can send my questions in writing to receive answers in writing, but I have tried to just say what it is that I would like some more information on. And the dependencies, I would like to know what do you do? Do you, for example, with all these institutions that were given to us, the DHA, the UIF, the PERSOL, the PERSAL, and so forth. Did I hear correctly that you said you have MOUs with all of them, and so they are ready, like they have allocated some resources to actually help when SASSA sends these numbers, huge numbers, I can imagine, to receive the information that will allow the reviews to be done successfully. I'm still not sure what could be the reason of a application from a person that applies for the SRD grant who has never worked, who has no money, who has no job, so there can't be any UIF record on their name, but they are declined on the basis that they have alternative income. And when I ask them, because I do try to ask questions before I send queries to SASSA on the most of the queries that I get, and they say no, they have never worked in their lives, they have not received any money from their families, and so on and so forth. But SASSA said, I know that people will say that when they're desperate to get the money. Has it happened that people are declined on the basis of their names being on any of the databases that you've presented to us, but those databases don't apply to them? Because, as I say, they have never worked in everything, and then they have to appeal, and then only can they be considered. And the one question I've been really wanting to ask is the one about, because I've seen in the emails, I just get copied in so many emails that have to do with grants. And there is one email that I believe Mr. Van Friede would also recall, where a lady has a mental condition, and she has not been given the grant because the doctor says that her condition can be managed with medication. Now, my question says, if you are unemployed and you need medication to manage your condition, are these people supposed to get these medications from public health facilities? Because otherwise, then please, and also when they get those medications from government health facilities, they still need to eat food for them to not to mess themselves up with these medications. So how does that work? That a person is unemployed, they have a mental condition, they are just told to go away, get medication, manage your condition, and go to work, please, and so on and so forth, in this environment where the unemployment rate is so high. And yeah, those are my questions for now. The online applications, I have been sending a whole lot of online applications that people just put them up and nothing happens thereafter. And they never get to hear or get that letter that says your application has been recorded successfully, or and so on and so forth. And I then have to receive these applications, send them to Mr. Van Vrede and team, and then people get help. But I would like to know, how can we have our online system being end-to-end, that the person that actually reduces the queues? Because if it works online, more people will be applying online, and then the queues will be shorter, and then of course they will have to go to SASSA for their identity to be confirmed. There is no avoiding that, as I understand the system, and that would be my questions for now to the presenters that made the presentations. And I will hand over to you, including obviously the questions that were made by the honourable members that that had their questions and their comments. Thank you so much. It's over to you, DG and SASSA and the departments. Thanks.
Okay, thanks very much, Chair and the honourable members, for the questions, and we will take turns to reply to the questions. I will then hand over to the CEO and the team. Over to Acting CEO.
Thank you, Chair. Let's start with the vulnerability ones, and then we'll get into the operational questions.
Thanks, Honourable Chairperson. Let me attempt to respond to the questions around the vulnerability. I think the first question was, can we permanently stop those people who are mimicking or creating website mimic SASSA website? The answer is you cannot permanently stop them, because they come from different places, even different countries. However, maybe members just find comfort in terms of the controls that we have put in place. So the first control, previously, before we improved the CSP policy security configuration, that website that was mimicking SASSA, if someone accessed that website was able to exchange data with SASSA. So to date, that cannot happen. Meaning that the moment you let's say you have come up with this website that's mimicking SASSA, and some beneficiary unaware connect to that website, when you enter the details, there will be no feedback coming back. So they will see that something is not right. I think that is the first thing. So you are not able to link the two websites together because we put that control. Secondly, as I've indicated, that no, we do have a collaboration with the .za domain. .za domain is the consortium of companies that actually facilitated the registration of the domains in South Africa. So obviously we said them that they need to monitor such things coming up. We wrote to them to say that no, SASSA as an agency, we are the only company that actually have got the rights to the name and any information around the organization and department. This can only be SASSA, nobody else. So they are also monitoring that. But lastly, we do have a security operations center in place, and the Security Operations Center monitors different transactions that actually are happening within the SRD space. But also this center is also assisting in monitoring any website that actually can mushroom from different corners of the world. So that work is currently underway. So I think with those controls that I've indicated, we should find some level of comfort that at least there are controls to stop this, On the second question regarding the agency willing to consider cyber range, so we do have, as I've already indicated, that we've got a 24-hour cyber security operations center that monitors, and within there we've got what we call a threat intelligence. Obviously, this is part of the AI where we analyze multiple data sets that exist, and we're able to say that there's something suspicious because our operations center is 24 hours monitoring services. For example, if anything happens, we're able to switch off or shut down that particular service or that particular threat that might be trying to access our system. So that is in place, and it's 24 hours. I think on the issue of identity theft, I think the one honorable member indicated that sometimes you apply and then you are told that you're already receiving a grant. We have introduced the biometrics, so now there's the issue of identity that we validate. You remember that before, because we didn't have biometrics, so if I've harvested someone's data, and then I use that information through the other checks and balances, we're not able to say indeed you are who you are claiming to be. So now with biometrics, so the moment you log, you access SRD and apply, we'll ask you to say, you are claiming to be Jabulani, please provide your face. And when you provide your face, we validate it against Home Affairs, and Home Affairs can come back and say, no, you are not who you are saying you are. And then from there, the system will definitely shut you out of the system. I think those are the questions that were sort of talking to the issue of vulnerability. Let me allow Mr. Van Vrede to respond to the other questions. Thank you.
Thanks. So let me start with the chairperson's questions. So in terms of targets, we've set ourselves a quarterly target of conducting 420,000 reviews during the financial year, and then that's also broken down into quarters. And then, as the chair mentioned, not to inconvenience people by just randomly targeting people for reviews, we then do this rather complex data analysis to try and identify the highest risk beneficiaries and then target those beneficiaries for reviews. And especially now in the second half of the year, I've shown in the slides, we've not just used a single source of data and review the beneficiary if they appear on that source of data, but look at multiple sources of data, and then ones that appear across all of those sources with different rules. So if for example, if we're seeing you on Purcell, but also when we do the bank checks, you're also in that database, then there's a higher chance that you don't qualify for the grant than, for example, someone that might be in Purcell, but when you check their bank account, there's nothing coming into their bank account. And that is similar to the way we do the SRD grant checks, which the chairperson also asked that, is it possible that someone could be on a UIF database or a SARS database, but never get declined for the grant, even though they've never worked. I can't comment from how they would get onto those databases if they haven't worked, but the way the SRD grant would work is that if you appear on a UIF database or a SARS database, but we check your bank account, and if your bank account's empty, then we assume that the SARS and the UIF data is not correct or is out of date, and we then approve your grant because your bank account is saying there's no money coming into this bank account. But if it's confirmed that you're on the SARS, UIF, and we're seeing money coming into your bank account, then the grant would be declined. With regards to MOUs, we do have MOUs with all the departments that supply us with data. The challenge with MOUs, though, is it's not, because you're getting it from another department, you're not paying for it. It's difficult to, if another department doesn't honor the MOU, the only recourse you have is to cancel the MOU, but canceling the MOU isn't a recourse because then you don't have the data. So one of the things we have asked the Treasury to do is to say, if you're making it a condition on SASSA to do this, you should also make it a condition on the other departments where we have to source the data from to supply that data on a regular basis in accordance with the MOUs that we have with them. And then on the question, on the broader data question, yes, we can disaggregate the data a bit more. I think in the first half of the year, our focus was mainly on income testing. So we haven't done in the first half of the year. So while we've done the checks, the actual reviews will only happen in the third quarter across all the government databases. So you won't necessarily see someone being removed from or have their grant suspended because they've been found on UIF or one of the other government databases. So the bulk of the information presented there was because clients failed the means test based on the income that they declared. And we have also, just a reminder of the numbers, so of the 260,000 notifications that were sent out, about 200,000 then did come forward to actually do the review. So the numbers presented in the savings is based on those numbers of clients that have actually then we have seen. The suspensions didn't yet happen at the end of the second quarter. So those numbers will filter through then in the third quarter report to say how many grants were suspended because the beneficiary failed to come in to do the reviews. In terms of the disability grant, so the disability grant has, and I think the biggest challenge we have with the disability grant is that in the absence of there being a income support grant, or as Honorable Munyai would mention, a basic income grant or basic income support for people between the ages of 18 to 59, we have many applicants who then would not necessarily qualify for the disability grant, but would attempt to apply for the disability grant, but is not necessarily meeting the qualification criteria for the disability grant from the disabilities perspective, but they would definitely meet it from an income perspective. But I think once the department implements the basic income support grant, that should to some extent be able to provide relief for clients. So the disability grant does have a set of requirements that needs to be met, and the legislative requirement at the moment is that the doctors need to assess whether or not the disability prevents you from being able to enter a labor market. So especially with illnesses, not necessarily disabilities, but illness-related conditions, where when illness can be managed with medication, then that person wouldn't technically qualify for disability, for that illness being of such a severe nature that it would prevent them from being able to gain employment. In terms of online applications, so the online applications are a little challenging at the moment because unlike the face-to-face applications where a person will come into a SASSA office, they'll see somebody, the person will tell them, you missing this document, or this document is, for example, you need 3-month bank statements, but you've only brought 2 months bank statements. Please come back with another another month. And because you're talking face to face with the person, you can reach understanding easier with the patient. The online systems are a little bit more cold in the sense that you'll submit your documents, someone will assess the documents, and you'll then get an email to tell you this document is missing or this document wasn't scanned clearly. And then the person might not get the email or might not read the email. And a few months later, they will come back to inquire about, okay, why is my grant not being processed? At that point, they will then only find out that they were missing this document or missing that document. And that obviously also causes a lot of upset, because then people, but I've submitted everything, but then you got to sit down, someone from the call center or the customer care division has to sit down with them and go through it one by one to unpack what was doing. The goal ultimately, as the Honorable Chair mentioned, is to try and get to a system closer to the SRD system, where we can automate checks with minimal intervention from the client. In other words, we pre-check everything before. So we are currently doing proof of concepts and looking at the possibility of having that kind of system in place for the other grants. That might also require legislative amendments, because the legislation that governs the SRD grant is very different from the legislation that governs the other grants. To some extent does require quite a significant amount of human intervention or human assessment in those grants. But we are currently investigating the possibilities of making the online grant a lot more seamless, or the online application process, but not just the online application process, to also implement that at local offices as well, to make the whole process a lot more seamless. But we're not yet there, but that is where we see ourselves going to in the future. In terms of the challenges with the new conditions that Honorable Munyai mentioned, so just in terms of how we work currently with the bank data exchange, so a lot of it is through batch data exchanges with the banks, and that takes about a week to process per means test. So we would send a list of IDs to the banks, all the banks participating in this, and they would run those IDs, check whether, and when we give them a threshold, so for example, we'll tell them the threshold for a child support grant is 5,300 rands a month. They would then go run those records through their database to see if the person is getting more than 5,300 rands a month coming into their account, and return a response of either yes or no to us. And that process takes about a week to run. So that is all done in batches. So we send millions of data batches to them on a monthly basis. They have built a system for that specific process, but it also requires them to load the different means test values into that. So they can't also do it all at the same time. So they have to take data out of their archives, run a particular program for one means test, then swap it out, run it again for another means test. So basically the answer to the Honorable Munyai's question is that the current build of the system doesn't facilitate individual record checkings, which is what would happen which is what would be required if we have to do it at point of registration. It means the individuals in front of you, you've got to run an API to various financial institutions on that one check, and they will then have to give you a response to that one individual, as opposed to the batch processes that we're running at the moment, which we exchange millions of lines of data with the different institutions. It's not impossible. It's the way the system's built at the moment. It's not built for that, and we would have to. And this was built over a number of years. It's we've taken the SRD system that we built in 2021, 22, and we're now using it for the normal grants. If we want to switch things around, we're going to have to rebuild the whole system again from scratch. And obviously, we have to negotiate that with the banks, because it will have quite a huge impact on their servers and the requests that we make to them as well. But there are also other. So that's essentially. So I don't think we're trying to say it's impossible. As just saying it's immediately implementation will require quite a lot of work that needs to be done, and we will have to build all of those systems again from scratch. I think the last question is then about the work we've done with banks after the students identified people also opening fraudulent bank accounts. So at that time, and we continuously do this, where we've identified fraud, we share that with the banks. Obviously, we can't compel banks to act or do anything about it, but we do share that data with their fraud departments for them to further investigate and take the necessary action. We also have implemented a check on our bank verification process to only allow fully FICA'd accounts to be verified. So if an account is not yet fully FICA'd, we won't pay money into that account. And the way this was happening when this was uncovered was that a few banks were applying what they call light FICA, which is allowed in the banking legislation to promote financial inclusion, noting that not everyone in the country may be able to conduct a full FICA process. However, banks are now moving towards not doing light FICAs anymore and doing a full FICA process and also ensuring that accounts don't become active. So in the past, accounts used to become active even though the FICA process may not have been completed. Now they also moving to a process of not doing that and only allowing those accounts to become active once the full FICA process is in place. And we've also amended our systems on our side during the verification stage to check that the accounts beneficiaries have given us are fully FICA accounts. Honourable Chair, I think that is all the questions. CEO, I'm not sure if you want to. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is how far we can be able to respond to the questions. But as you had mentioned earlier, that you will be submitting this so that then we can be able to fully respond, because some of them needs better explanation, and it will be better if it is written down. For example, Chair, on the issue of the income flow for applicants for SRD, we'll then be able to explain fully what checks and balances do we do for any applications in the SRD space. And also on the disability one, because as much as it has been explained, but I don't think it has been explained fully for you and members to understand that disability grant is more on medical assessment, but not on the economic side of things. And you are right to be saying, but then a person who is sick also needs to have food so that then they can be able to take medication. So those are the gaps that are there, and we can be able to raise them when we respond to the questions in writing. Thank you very much, Chair. I'm heading over to the DG now.
No, thanks very much, Acting CEO and the team. I think, Chair, let me hand over to the Minister for conclusive remarks, if it's okay with you, Honourable Chairperson.
Yep. It's quite okay. Please go ahead, Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable members. Once again, I must really take this opportunity to humbly thank you for giving us this opportunity, not just to present before you the work that we're expected to do and challenges that we must resolve. We don't take this opportunity lightly because it does, to an extent, make us a little bit agile in talking closer to the people of the Republic for them to understand on what is going on in their one and the only entity that seeks to resolve the challenges that they are going through on a daily basis. Thank you so much. We don't take it lightly. We want to take it home, Chair, that it should not only be in these platforms where we are able to articulate the progress that we're making, but also talk to the challenges that we're facing and articulate the solutions that we're employing in that regard. We're also happy to get this positive feedback from the National Treasury on the work that we're doing. We must, once again, as we always do with yourselves, commit that our responsibility is to make sure that we do the right thing. The right thing is straightforward. It's not negotiable. That's what we agreed on when we got into the 7th administration. It's either black or white. It can't be gray. If it's black and it's not good, give explanation and tell us what are you doing in making sure that it is white and it is appreciable. Chair, with the questions that are quite profound that you ask, I want, as acting CEO did, to emphasize that we must prepare written replies that talks into the questions and give more clarity on what we are doing. I think it's important because you'll carry that everywhere we go. Members will have that copy and they can amplify the message that we're sending every day, that this is what we're doing. Of course, not undermining the fact that there are still challenges, as the members were articulating and raising the fears that are there that sometimes are beyond us. But as government, we still have to do something to make sure that we protect the little that we have that is supposed to benefit the most poorer people. Thank you so, so much. We're not tired to come before this committee and explain, even when you think there's something like you always do that needs your attention, we must take you into confidence. We are forever ready to do that. With Treasury, those meetings that are to take place, they must take place, because it's only when they give us a nod that we'll realize that we do the right thing in making sure that we protect that we have from the National Treasury, so that there will be never time where they will think that it must be a little bit smaller than it is now. We know we get the better portion of what they provide for everyone. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. The honorable members must not stop to send those questions even before the portfolio committees, so that in between we give as much information as we can. We will invite honorable members when we celebrate the 20th anniversary of SASSA. This teenage now is beginning to be an adult. We join, we say this teenage is behaving like a teenage, but now we can see that the teenage is now developing and growing to be an adult, therefore responsible, know what is wrong and right, find a way to correct what is wrong, appreciate what is right. Thank you so much, Chair. We appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Honorable Minister, DG, and the senior officials of the department and entities. For us, the chair of this, the former chairperson of this portfolio committee used to say, we are abantu bati, the honorable members of this portfolio committee. All they do is bringing what people are saying to them as they do their work in constituencies. So when we ask for this information, as you have already said, Honorable Minister, it really is helpful for us to at least respond, with information that we know is coming directly from the department through the entities. So thank you for that. Honourable members, brings us to the end of the this part of the meeting as we go over to the internal business. So I wish to thank you, and I was advised a few weeks ago that the internal business is not a closed meeting. So I'm not going to ask people to go home or to log off or whatever, but I am going to say that those that have other work to do and will not see any value in sitting with us as we consider and adopt committee reports and so on. I wish you a good day going forward and in the work that you will be doing. But we thank you so much for all the contributions that have been made in this meeting. Honourable members, we will then continue with the internal business of the committee. From now on, we have saved some time, so you will also be in a position to continue do your constituency work or whatever it is that you are doing. But let's get on with the first item of the internal business, which is the consideration and adoption of the committee report on a referral on the inquiry on statutory rape. I will hand over to Yoli, I believe, for this work, for the presentation of this report. It's over to you, Yoli.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. And good morning to you and to the honorable members and my colleagues on the platform. Okay, Chair, I'm just gonna, okay, the two ways, Chair, I have the report here. It is, let's have a look. I think it's about, how many pages? 8 pages, so it's not a long report. But I also did what I normally do, that I just take out the committee deliberations and recommendations and paste them on a separate document, just so that I can go through them. Then I'm saying this, maybe you can guide me, Chair. Do I just do that, or do I just take you through the report, which is not a long report? So I just flag the 8-page or the 2 pages.
Yeah. Go ahead and do what you normally do, unless members require the full report, which is available. I am told. I will just check by the raising of hands, because the honourable members would have had the report before this meeting to go through, but we will then do what we normally do, just to flag the recommendations by the committee on this at this time. Go ahead, Yuli. I don't see any objection to what we normally do. Please go ahead. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. Can I just have an indication that you can see the page that I'm flagging?
Yes, we can see.
It's visible on the site.
Between 2 pages, adoption of committee report, there's just the last page or something. But we can see something. You can put it.
So you see committee observations and findings. You see that page.
I just see a bullet. There's a need of joint engagements and then adoption of committee report.
Okay, let me just stop sharing and then share again.
Okay.
And now?
Same thing. Are you able to scroll up or down from where you are?
Even on my search is blank, which is, this is new.
Brand new.
Brand new. It's never done it like this. Okay, let me just maybe close other documents I have opened here. I don't know what's going on, because this is
honourable members, please bear with Yoli. She's just trying to upload the the report for us. And technology is doing what technology is known for.
Yeah. Okay, I've just closed the other documents I had opened. I don't know if that will assist at all. And just leave this two. Okay, let's try again. Share. Something new is happening here. You still can see it, Nature?
Yeah, I still, oh yeah, now it's going.
Oh,
now it's going.
better. Oh, okay.
Yes. Just go right to the beginning of this part.
Okay. Here it is.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Okay, Chair, I'm going to start with the first one. The observations that were made that sexual abuse is in a broader sense, is a national crisis, but it has not been escalated to the level it should be, just as the COVID-19 pandemic was. For instance, during the COVID-19 period, data on daily infections cases were clearly marketed through online and broadcasting platforms. A similar approach should be adopted for sexual abuse cases. And then the other one is a lack of work. There's a lot of work done by various departments, but they work in silos. This is because there's a lack of collaboration between government departments and civil society, which results in lack of integration of referral systems and data on statutory rape, on sexual transmitted diseases, STIs, in children and teenagers, and underage pregnancy. There is an unclear budget allocation and expenditure on child protection services, including funding of NGOs rendering child protection services. The legislative age, there is a... sorry, Chair.
Because you know what you're saying, just go ahead.
Okay. There is a contradiction on legislated age of consent, that is 16 years, but yet the termination of pregnancy allows children to terminate pregnancy without informing their parents. This creates a lot of confusion to communities. The Children's Act defines the age defined anyone under the age of 18 years as a child, thus making the age of majority to be anyone above the age of 18 years. On the other hand, according to the Choice of Termination of Pregnancy Act, any pregnant person of any age can request termination of pregnancy, and their consent is the only consent required. A medical practitioner cannot deny termination of pregnancy of a minor if she chooses not to consult with a parent, guardian, or family members. These legislative provisions create contradiction and confusion to families and communities, which can potentially hinder reporting of child sexual abuse. There is still a lack of training of police on how to handle reported sexual abuse cases. The critical shortage of social service professionals, for example, social workers, and unemployment of social work graduates is a serious concern. It is also one of the factors that contribute to lack of reporting. There is a serious need for employment of social workers. For instance, there is a need for deployment of social workers in schools. The 2019 Cabinet resolution that instructed various departments to absorb social workers has not been fully implemented. Focus on statutory rape has mainly been on girls, even though statistics indicate high cases of sexual abuse against boys. It is therefore important to focus on boys as victims of statutory rape as well. The laws of the country prioritize the best interests of the child, but that is not realized when the country has a high crisis of sexual abuse of children, which has long-term impact. The recommendations? The committee made the following recommendations. Government departments, through the Department of Social Development, should develop a reporting tool that will provide daily statistics on reported cases of child sexual abuse, as well as general cases of gender-based violence and femicide, through online and broadcast platforms as it was done with the COVID-19 daily infection rates. DSD should develop a protocol for integrated pathways between the Departments of Health, Justice, Police, Basic Education, and Home Affairs in relation to child trafficking. It should also forge collaboration with these departments through Memorandum of Understandings or Memorandum of Agreement. Government departments through the Department of Social Development should develop an integrated online confidential reporting system to ensure tracking of reported cases of sexual abuse and cases of GBVF. DSD should develop a formalized and enforceable accountability mechanism for all stakeholders listed in Section 110 of the Children's Act for non-reporting. DSD and other relevant departments should collaborate with academia, civil society, and Chapter 9 institutions to conduct research that will develop evidence-based interventions. The data should be leveraged to target all vulnerable children, including those in places of safety. There is a need for amendment on the legislative provisions of the Children's Act and the Choice of Termination of Pregnancy Act in relation to implications of 18-year-olds being the age of majority as set out by the Children's Act, whilst the choice of termination of pregnancy allows a minor to terminate pregnancy without consulting a parent, guardian, or a family member. DSD and the Department of Police should develop policy provisions on follow-ups on the sexual abuse cases that are withdrawn. There should be concerted effort to focus on boys as also victims of child abuse, as statistics indicate high levels of sexual abuse against boys. The toll-free numbers are not marketed. DSD should approach the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies to assist in marketing these numbers. DSD should engage with the Department of Trade and Industry for the development of a policy that will mandate mining industry and other businesses to allocate a certain percentage to fund the employment of social service professionals in the sector. This is because there's also a high prevalence of sexual abuse and GBV in mining areas as well. This is in light that the National Treasury rejected the department's bid for 15 billion budget to employ social workers because of fiscal constraints. The department should also involve premiers to make resources available. This could be done through MOUs or MAAs signed between DSD and premiers. DSD should involve traditional leaders in its education campaigns because it has been reported that statutory rape cases are not reported because of cultural practices. There is a need for a joint engagement with all relevant portfolio committees and stakeholders on issues that emanated from the public participation program. So these are the recommendations that came as chairperson during the deliberations on the presentation by DSD. I will take inputs, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Yoli, for that presentation and the capturing of both the discussions and the recommendations. Honourable members, that is a reflection as far as Yoli is concerned of how we discuss or how far we discussed this presentation on the statutory rape inquiry. So I will take your comments before I go straight into the adoption of the report. I will take any comments if you feel that there's something that we discussed and stated as recommendations that is not in what has just been presented to us. It is over to you, honourable members. Okay, I don't see any hand. And then, so what I will do now is to ask for the adoption of the report so that it can be transmitted to the department the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities for processing within the date of the 30th of November. May I have an adopter, please? Honorable members. Honorable Ramaila. We cannot hear you, sir, but I assume you are adopting the report?
Yes, I am. My apologies, network. Yes, I'm going for the adoption.
No problem at all. Thank you for that. May we please now have the seconder of the adoption of the report? Honorable members?
Chair, I second.
Oh, thank you, Honorable Mahato. That means that the report on the inquiry on statutory rape and teenage pregnancy has now been adopted, and it will then be transmitted, as I said, back to the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. Thank you so much for your processing of this report, honorable members. Now, I would like for us to go to what I believe to be the last item on the agenda, the update on the CDA summit. Go ahead, Lindiwe, I think.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Just to add, Chair, to the report that has just been adopted, just to inform the members that this is the work that has been done by this portfolio committee, as the referral was for a joint engagement. So next week, on the 26th, while we're at the summit, there is a 45 minutes set aside for all the involved committee to quickly adopt the main report. So there will be an interim report that will be adopted next week so that we can meet the set deadlines for this referral, which is 30 November. So while in the summit, I'll just allow members just for 45 minutes to quickly be part of that meeting to adopt the interim report. Chair, I just want to provide an update regarding the CDA logistics. The summit will take place in Johannesburg, and Mr. Fungile has been busy with logistics. Maybe he will make his part to update you as to how far is he in terms of the logistical arrangements, and then after him, I'll just make the last announcement on the update in the work of the committee. Through you, Chair, if Mr. Bulawa can take the committee through. Over to you, Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Bulawa.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair, and colleagues. Good morning. Chair, the application is with my manager, Mr. Bandi. I'm waiting for approval. Maybe we'll get it today. So if it can be approved today, then I'll raise the POs tomorrow. Maybe on Friday, the latest members will receive their itinerary. The transport chair has been arranged to pick members from Parliament after a sitting straight to the airport. And we have arranged to get the later flight around 8 o'clock in the afternoon with regards to the traffic as well. So from the airport to Johannesburg, and from the airport, there'll be transfers waiting for members to the hotel. During the day of the summit, Chair, there will be transfers from the hotel to where the summit is. And also we have arranged a standby car for any emergency during the day for both days of the summit. Chair, I would also appeal to members not to make any changes after the POs have been arranged, because we are struggling with the current travel agents that we are busy with. I'm sure they are not yet have the capacity to work with Parliament. So if we make changes, for instance, today, they will be ready to do it, to finalize it tomorrow. So I'm appealing to members not to make any changes after the POs have been raised. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bulawa, for that. Members, you have heard the appeal coming out of our logistics that has to do with the capacity of our newly appointed travel facility. And I hope all that has been approved by members. So, Lindiwe, you can come right back to take us through the other updates.
Sorry, Chairperson.
Yes.
I've tried to make an apology that I'm not around. I've got an appointment with my doctor here in Johannesburg. So, but I did tell the organizer. So I don't know whether he saw the message.
No, he would have seen it. I'm sure he will see. He has seen it, and he will respond to you accordingly. Thank you, Honorable Makgato.
Thank you very much.
All right then. Lindiwe, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, still good morning. Good morning once again, members. Chair, safe to say that, just to give a context, on the 3rd of December, the committee will have a joint meeting with the Select Committee on Social Services because of a referral made by the Speaker. The Minister of Social Development has a responsibility in terms of the Social Assistance Amendment Bill that was considered or approved by the then committee, where there was an amendment proposed by the then committee that when the minister appoints the members to serve in the independent tribunal appeals, that should be done in consultation with that parliament. And parliament is parliament because of the two houses, which is the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. So on the third chair, we have set aside that we need to look at the list, by a recommended list by the minister, and then as these two committees is a consultation process. There is a letter from the minister chair, and then the advertisement and the list of candidates that has been recommended by the minister for appointment, and that process, that's why it is in consultation with us to endorse the names. And then on the third chair, the department will come and present the names, maybe the recruitment process up to the recommendations made by the minister. I will, Chair, after this meeting, send all the necessary information with the list of names that the committee needs to endorse or could do or consulted on. So I just wanted to give that context. Whenever you see the communication, you do have that background as to why are we involved in the process of the appointment of an independent tribunal appeals chair of members to serve in the independent appeals tribunal. Thank you very much. I just wanted to give that context. When you receive the documentation, at least you'll have this background. Thank you very much for the 3rd of December.
Thank you, Lindiwe. We appreciate that. Honourable members, there is a background and context of the information you will be receiving in terms of the appointment of the appeals tribunal that the Honourable Minister will be appointing in consultation with this portfolio committee and the standing committee in the NCOP. So the meeting, as has been said, just to confirm, it will be on the 3rd of December 2025. I don't know if there's any burning issue that any of the honourable members has to raise in this meeting before we then come to the end of the meeting. I do not see anything, any hand rather, sorry for that. And so I will just now wish all the members all the best going forward and declare this meeting adjourned with much gratitude to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
I will end the